Yeah, hello everyone and welcome back. So today we are going to discuss a very important topic in Angular, that is the data sharing in Angular. And also we are going to see how to transfer the data from one component to another component in Angular, and also we are going to see with an example. So let us start the session. First, let's understand what is a data sharing between Angular components. So basically data sharing means that we are exchanging the data between the two components. So basically we know that Angular is made up of components, and we need to transfer the data from one component to another component. So that is called as data sharing or data exchange. So another way we can say that to transfer the data from one component to another component. So this is important when developing an interactive or a dynamic application. So as an component are usually required to communicate and exchange data to perform certain work or certain functions. So this concept is very important in Angular, and yeah, so let's see. So basically there are four methods to share the data between an Angular component. First we need to decide and we need to know that what component has the relationship with the another component. So let's say that there is a one component A and the another component B. So first of all you need to find out that what is the relationship between these two, A and B. So like A can be parent, B can be child, and you have to transfer data from parent to child. It means from component A to component B. Then there we will use at the rate input decorator, and with that we will transfer data from component A to component B. In this case A is parent and B is child. So if you have to transfer from parent to child, then we use at the rate input comparator, right? Now the second scenario, if your component A is parent, B is child, but now you want to transfer data from B to A, it means from child component to a parent component, then in that case you can use at the rate output decorator and also event emitter. Okay, so all these things we are going to understand in a very deep manner, that what is input decorator, what is output decorator, what is event emitter. So you will learn all this concept very in a deep manner. So let's understand the third method. So now let's say you have A and B component which does not have any relationship, both are different component at all. Then you can use so you can use service class to transfer data from A to B. So in the third method, A and B are not has any relationship. They are a different component. They does not have any relationship like child parent, right? They are different. Then in that case, you can use service class to transfer data from A to B or B to A, right? Now the fourth method is child to parent. So there is one more way to sharing a data from child to parent, like output and the event emitter. There is also view child concept. So with the view child object we can share the data from child to parent component. So basically these are the four methods by which we can transfer data from component to component. The main point you need to recognize first what is the relationship between these two components. Once you get the idea that what is the relationship and from where to where you need to transfer, then you can use these methods to easily transfer the data from one component to the another component, right? Yeah, so let's understand this in a very depth manner. But first I will so in this particular video we are going to only discuss about the first method, that is parent to child sharing, that can be done from at the rate input decorator. And further lectures I will explain all the other methods, so stay tuned with me. So let's understand the first way, that is parent to child sharing data via at the rate input decorator. So here you can see in the picture, so there is a parent component and the data is flowing from parent to child. So for that we are using at the rate input decorator. So basically input properties allow to pass the data from a parent component to a child component. So by defining a property in the child component with @input decorator, you can receive data from parent component. So basically we need to define @input decorator inside child component. So see, from parent data. Okay, so now understand that what data you want to transfer. Let's say you have a string variable, let's say you have an object, let's say you have a boolean type of data or a number type of data. You want these data to be sent from parent component, okay, to a child component. Then you can use add that input decorator, and for that, in the child component you need to add input decorator, right? Yeah, so let's understand by with an example, then I think you will understand more. So let's switch to our Angular application. So this is a very like fresh Angular application I have built for you. In this you can see we have app. Inside app we have only basic components like app component.html and app component.ts. Nothing else we have, right? And we have app module. Inside app module we are bootstrapping app component, right? And then we have index.html. In the index.html we have given the selector of app component. It means that from the index.html it will load to app component, right? So let's run this and let's check whether this application is running or not, and then like later we will put the components and all. Okay, so for that you can simply go to the app and then you can put ngserve. So this will build your application, right? And it will start okay, in a local port. So let's see. So just wait for a few seconds, you will see that it started on port number 4200. All right, so let me go there and you can see app component loaded. It means it is loading our app component dot html, which says app component loaded. Now we have to see the example for sharing the data from two component, right? For that I need to create first the folder. Let me put components, and inside this component I am going to create the two components. So to create a component in Angular, we need to put ng generate and component. So you can write full word generate, okay, like this, or also you can write simply g. Okay, so the Angular CLI will consider as an generate, g for generate. And for component also you can write full component, or you can write simply c. And then you have to provide the name of the component. Let's say we providing parent. Okay, so and then you have to put enter. So this will create a new component, ng generate component with the name parent. So this will create a new component with the name parent. You can see it's created here. Create. It created four files basically: html and testing file, ts and css. And then it also updated to your app module.ts file. All right, it means it is imported to your app module.ts file here. You see app component. So like this, this parent component get added to declare array, and also it is get imported to this app module. It means we can use this parent component anywhere because we are importing this component in app module directly. Okay, so yeah, so this is your first component, this that is parent component or component a, right? Now let's create another component with the same code: ng generate component, and second component I will keep it name as a child. So if we execute this command, then it will create another component in your project inside components folder. And you can see here it updated app module.ts. Here you see child component is now imported and also declared in an like declaration array, right? And also it created four files, right? So also you can see inside components, and here there is child and parent, right? So now what we have to do, we have to So basically how you decide that which is the parent, yeah, so first of all you need to build a relationship between this. Okay, so this is your parent component, this is your html parent html, right? And then further we have child component, right? This is the html for the child component, and this is the ts file. So in the ts file you have the selector, right? App child. Let me copy this. Okay, you need to copy this child, and in the parent html I want that I want to include the child component inside a parent component. Then you can use this selector here inside html like this. So what it will do in this place, after parent work sentence, it will add the child component. So the child component will load in this place, and when it load, it will call the ts file and also the html of the child component, and in the child it says child works, right? So first it will load with the parent. In the html it says, you see, parent works, and then here app child component will get loaded, and in the child component html it is child works. Okay, so let me do some modification because I want to simply uh, first add or include, first call this parent component. So let's go to the index.html. Let me see. Yeah, here is the index.html, and here you see inside body. So index.html is the first html page which get loaded, and from here we generally, in our general project, we call app module only. It means then, but for now I will change this. Okay, because we are not using here the routing concept. So in the later lectures also I will create the lecture on the routing, and then I will teach you how to implement routing in your application in a depth manner. But for now let's focus on transferring the data. So for this, let me include this parent component selector inside my index.html, so that this will be the first thing it will load. Parent component will get loaded, and then it will go to the html, and then it will load the child component like that, right? So let me save all these files. Index.html also done. Yeah, now let's run this. Let's do ng-serve. So when I will do ng-serve, it will start in the port number. Okay, that we will see. So basically what I did in the index.html, I changed the selector. It will call parent component. This parent dot component html, we included child component, so this will load our child component. All right, so let's see whether we were able to achieve this or not. Okay, we are getting empty data. Let's see what mistake we did. We are calling this. Okay, and in the app module, okay, you see bootstrap, we need to change the bootstrap also. We are using as an app module, but here so bootstrap is basically tells angular cli that which component you want to load first when your application get bootstrap, or when your application get loads or start. So I want, means I want, so here I'm doing some customization, that's why I'm changing this. But in your application generally we don't change these things, because we want that app module should load, and also means basically it should use the routing concept to load other components. But here we are not dealing with that, we are simply understanding about yeah. So here you see, as I change it, loaded parent work and the child works. It means first it load the parent component. Inside the parent component we are using the selector of child component, that's why child works came, right? So yeah, I hope you understand this concept. Now I want to transfer the data from parent to child. So you can see that. Okay, so how to remember that which decorator you have to use at that input or at the output? How you will know that we have to use input decorator to transfer data from parent to child? So you just imagine this is an arrow. Okay, so the arrow is going downward, right? Because we are transferring from up to down, so arrow is downward. So when the downward, it means in. So that's why you have to remember where we have to use input decorator. Okay, arrow is downward, So first the parent come, then the child. Arrow is like downward transfer from parent to child, from up to down and in. Okay, so arrow is like inside in. So here we have to use input decorator. So let's go to the parent component. So let's say in our parent component.ts file, I have some variable. Okay, with the say parent data. This is of a string type, and here I have some value. Let's say data coming from parent component. Okay, so this is a variable I created, parent data, and I store a string that is data coming from parent component. So this data is in parent component. I want to transfer from parent to child. All right, and already in our parent HTML we have imported this selector of child. So you can use @input. Okay, so @input, where you have to use, @input where you want to receive it. You want to receive it inside child, right? From parent to child, you want to receive inside child. So this is our child component. So here you have to put input decorator. Okay, so this is our input decorator, and you have to import this. So update, so this import will come from Angular core. All right, and then you need to provide the variable name. So let's say you want to store with a child data. All right, and this is of a string type, let's say. So okay, so yeah, yeah, so in this manner you need to declare the input decorator at the input at the rate input, and then you to open bracket close bracket, and then you need to provide the variable name for which you want to receive the child the receive the parent value. So here you will receive. Okay, so in this manner you have to declare inside child component. Now in the html parent.html you need to put. Okay, so like this you can do. Okay, so here you need to put a square bracket. Okay, inside the square bracket you need to put the child component name. Okay, so what is the your child component name? uh, so this is your child data, right? So let me go to the html. Here you put the child data, and then equals to you need to put the parent component variable name. So in the parent component we are using parent data. So let's go again, like this, and you have to save it, right? So this child data will get transferred. Yeah, so this parent data will get transferred to child data, and this variables name you have to keep whatever you have declared inside your ts file, right? So this child data is there in your child component, so same variable name it should be declared there also. And this parent data is there inside your parent component. So this should match, otherwise it will give you the compile time error. Okay, now let's see what we are transferring. Okay, so how to check this? Let's go so from parent to child we are doing, right? So in the child html, after the child works, I will put simply the interpolation. From the interpolation I will try to render this child data variable value to my html, right? Let's save this. See, so here now you can see we can display data coming from parent component, right? So first it loads the parent component. Inside parent component we have loaded child component, and now from parent component we are transferring the data to the child component by using input decorator, which we have defined here, right? So in the, so where we are receiving the data you have to put input decorator there, right? So this thing you have to remember. And then so this child component, this child data variable will receive the data from the parent component. Okay, so this data will be received in the child component here, and then using interpolation we are displaying this HTML. Okay, so for, yeah, so for as a proof I am showing you that we received this data from parent component to a child component successfully, and this is rendering in your HTML like this, right? So this is a very like very useful and mostly used technique to transfer data from one component to a child component, but from a parent to a child. For that we use input decorator. So here you can transfer any number of data, okay, any object, number, boolean, string, any. Only you have to add more. Okay, like this, let's say you want to transfer more, like child object. Okay, there is one variable with the child object name inside your child component, and in the parent component also you need to create one like variable to receive this, right? Yeah, and here you can create, okay, let's say that you have one object here. Okay, let's say a JSON object or any object. Okay, let's say a JSON object you have. Okay, so in this you have some like JSON object, you want to transfer this, then simply here you need to pass like this. Okay, and in the child you want to receive, so let's say you have to create one more input decorator, right? Input decorator, and then let's say child JSON object. Okay, so I'm giving this name so that you will able to recognize this, and let's say it is of any type. All right, so this, yeah, so this name should match here inside your HTML tag, otherwise it will give compile time error. Okay, yeah, so like this manner. So basically this data from parent component is receiving inside child component in this manner, right? You see it gave me error. Let's see, JSON. Okay, this is JSON only, this is correct. Yeah, and this is our child object. This should match with this, otherwise it will give some error. Okay, yeah, you see now it worked. Okay, so there was some spelling mistake. Yeah, so in this manner you can transfer n number of data from parent component to a child component using at the rate input decorator. So basically you need to remember that this is going from parent to child. It means parent is up, child is down. So arrow is like from up to down. It means in, the arrow is going inside in, so that's why we have to use input decorator. Okay, so yeah, so in this manner I hope you understand the concept, and also with an example how to transfer data from one component to another component. So in the next lecture we are going to discuss about at the rate output decorator, in which I will show you how to transfer from child to parent. Okay, so thank you and have a nice day.